to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.
What's happening in Washington right now in terms of stimulus talks. We've already seen a couple rounds of stimulus come forth, the last one being right at the end of 2020, but here we are at the top of February and we're talking about more, and it seems like it's likely that we're going to see it. It's just a matter of how is it going to get done, how much is going to come forward, because there seem to be great disparities there between the Democrats and the Republicans. And for construction, the question probably is how much of that is going to impact me directly or indirectly. So from your seat, Ken, do you feel like there's great opportunity there to do more with this next round of stimulus? What specifically needs to be done to aid your members, to aid contractors and boost construction?
Well, I think there's a greater chance of getting infrastructure funding than we saw for most of the previous 4 years, even though President Trump was regularly trotting out the notion of a huge infrastructure package. He never sat down with members of Congress to actually work out the details and get past the significant hurdle of how do you fund it. Now we're in an environment where Congress has shown, at least intermittently, willingness to go ahead and spend more money without having the taxes to cover it. But at the moment, it looks as if that focus is limited to relief for individuals and for supporting getting vaccinations out sooner. The big heavy lift of paying for infrastructure has been put off. Now, President Biden said that he would bring forth an infrastructure plan later this month or perhaps early in March, but that will be a long way from presidential proclamation to a signing ceremony. He's got to thread the needle of a tight majority in the House, probably should be able to get a bill through the House, given that they already passed a very large comprehensive infrastructure package in the summer of 2020. But with the Senate having an absolutely hair's breadth majority, if every Democratic senator is healthy enough to come and vote and stays with the party majority, even then it would take Vice President Harris acting as president of the Senate to get something done. And for most legislation, it actually takes 60 votes in order to cut off the threat of a filibuster. So right now, the path is not clear to getting an infrastructure package through the Senate. But even if that changes, we're a long way from knowing how large it will be, how it will be allocated between, say, highways, other transportation, water, broadband, renewable energy, even affordable housing and schools. There are just a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, I would think it would be a mixed bag now that you have a Democrat-run administration, Ken. Do you have any thoughts on the timeline of that? I mean, obviously, there's COVID relief talks here, and it seems like that could take some time, and that's going to eat up some dollars too. But any prospects for getting an infrastructure bill started in the first 100 days or done in the first 100 days, perhaps, is rather unlikely. Are we looking at more mid-year or late year for infrastructure at this point?
Well, there are a couple of pressure points on Congress in terms of the calendar. For me, I think the most significant one is that, as you'll recall, last year, at the last minute, there was a one-year extension of the so-called FAST Act, the authorization bill for federal funds to go back to states for highways and to transit agencies for transit starts. And that bill or that legislation expires September 30th of this year. Now, that seems a long way off, but given the hurdles that you mentioned, I think that it may well take until that date, and many times that date has also slipped with very short-term extensions. But I think realistically, it's going to take until September to get a package in place. Having said that, if you go back to 2009, in the midst of the great financial crisis then, President Obama took office, and 4 weeks later, he signed what was called the stimulus bill, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And again, that was with very narrow majorities. So there are ways of getting Congress to act quickly sometimes, but I do think this time it's going to be limited to the relief for individuals, unemployment benefits, and for getting the COVID vaccines out there.
Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.